Welcome. This is Restaurant Delivery, a discussion about handling it in-house post-COVID-19. Produced and presented by Nation's Restaurant News, this webinar is being sponsored by ShiftPixy, a human capital management platform to help businesses with shift-based employees navigate regulatory mandates, minimize administrative burdens, connect with the ready-for-hire or gig workforce. My name is Alan Little, and I'm Senior Editor of Data and Event Content for Nation's Restaurant News. I'll be moderator for today's presentation by Scott Absher of ShiftPixy, John Bissell of Diamondback, DTNM, David Goldstein of Sharky's Wood-Fired Mexican Grill. Daniel Locayo will be our on-air technical lead. Before I introduce the panel, let me thank you in the audience for choosing to spend an hour with us during these challenging times. Now let me explain how you can get the most from this program. Personalize your viewing and listening experience. You can move your webcast console windows around by dragging on the title bar or resize them by clicking on their lower right corner. The toolbar at the bottom of your console has buttons that allow you to open and close widgets, such as the one for adjusting audio volume. If at any time you experience difficulties with the audio or advancing the slides, simply press your F5 key to refresh the webinar console. Use Command and R keys if you're on a Mac. We welcome questions about our topic, and we'll answer as many as we can following the presentation. But feel free to submit yours to the queue at any time. Just type it into the question window on the upper left-hand side of your screen and hit the Submit button. Finally, please note that today's webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing at the NRN.com site. You will be alerted via email when that archive is posted. Now, let me provide some information about this. David Goldstein is Chief Operating Officer for Sharky's Wood-Fired Mexican Grill, with involvement in its strategic planning and growth since 2007. During his 30-plus years in food service management, operations, and research and development, he has been involved at the executive level in the expansion of such concepts as TGI Fridays, Baja Fresh. David's broader industry activities have included being a founding board member of the Culinary Institute of America's Center for Menu R&D. John Bissell is Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for the Del Taco franchisee group Diamondback, DTNM. He began his career with McDonald's and garnered the experience needed to become a senior franchise business consultant with International Dairy Queen and later at Taco John's International, where he was promoted to Vice President of Operations. John next took a VP Ops role with a family dining franchise group, and when that business sold, he joined Diamondback. Scott Absher is co-founder and chief executive of ShiftPixy, where he applies 30 years of experience in organizational and capital development and the employment industry. He had an early career in product development and support, serving national retail chains, gave way to a focus on business and employer services. Scott's resume highlights include time spent building and training national sales organizations and independent agent forces, developing and launching captive insurance. Knowing that about our presenters, let's hear what they can share about restaurant delivery, handling it in-house post-pandemic. John Bissell, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning. We currently operate 11 Del Taco restaurants spread throughout the state of New Mexico. We found the initial effects of the COVID virus to be very hard on us. We initially had drastic sales drops. So we got our heads together and we figured we had to find some way to get our sales rolling. We had to close all of our dining rooms except for takeout and delivery. Fortunately, we had drive-thrus, which helped keep us going initially, but we still needed more guests. We had rolled out Olo, which is an online mobile food ordering platform, to all of our locations just in mid-February. So we were really lucky with the timing on that one. We immediately sprung into action to find a way to serve more guests any way we could. We initially found the ShiftPixy team when we went looking for a self-delivery system for a couple of our remote locations that either had no delivery service available or where there was only one other option and it wasn't working out too well for us. Our initial goal was to set up delivery, self-delivery in those two locations and then expand it to the other locations that were served by the major delivery services. So we really wanted to own the experience for the guests. So that was our initial reason for wanting to do self-delivery ultimately in all locations. We really love the services the other delivery systems provide, but having someone else deliver your food has its own risks as well, especially in today's environment. Sometimes a driver picks up an order from us, but the guest never receives it. Or drivers don't accept the opportunity to pick up one of the orders over an order from a competitor. Maybe there's a larger ticket, larger tips. I'm not sure why, but sometimes that is an issue. We've also seen the other guy's drivers show up to pick up deliveries from us in tank tops and flip-flops, which is certainly not the image we really want to present for our own guests. The important thing to us was to own our delivery, having one of our team members in a proper, clean uniform with a mask and gloves on, delivering the order in a safe, limited contact, and professional manner. Also, cost is a concern. The other guys charge a lot to deliver our food. There were some initial issues setting up self-delivery. We had to make several conference calls between Olo, our franchisor, ShiftPixy, and my team to get everything working properly. Lots of technical issues to climb, but overall it really was not very difficult considering all the different parties involved. The actual self-delivery training and demo went super smooth. The app the team uses to make the actual deliveries with the map and directions to the home or business all worked great. We started out super strong in one of the first 2 units and a little slower in the other. I attribute the differences to our own issues and lack of consistent marketing to the community about our new service. One of my GMs really talked up to his guests about the oncoming delivery opportunities, and the other GM did not, and the results kind of spoke for themselves. I believe that's all I have. Scott, take it away.
John, thanks. Just to kind of set the stage, for this conversation, ShiftPixy was really started initially to address labor problems that were creeping into, especially the restaurant operator community. The old-time honored tradition of 100% turnover started looking more like 300% and 400% turnover in some markets. So we came up with the idea of really taking what we knew about employee engagement and compliance and using more cutting-edge mobile technology to re-engage employees, but also create a sharing platform so that operators now could staff with their locations with ease. And that was the original problem that we were creating. But as we got into the marketplace and started this process, this is the same time that third-party delivery started ramping up. And so we started asking some questions about why large brands, thinking of ones like McDonald's, who had spent billions over decades or generations in the case of McDonald's to build their brand and their customer experience, why would they suddenly surrender that brand and that customer experience and now ultimately their customer data to a kid in a red golf shirt and cap? And we started asking that question of our multi-unit operator clients, and then we started hearing all the stories about no food, cold food, half-eaten food, late food, wrong food, all the anger for which from the customers was rolling back on the local operator because there was very difficult for them to get remediation of their problem on their order. And to add insult to injury, our operator clients were giving up 30% of their ticket for every one of these orders. So to add insult to injury, you're losing money on every ticket that goes out the door. But what we found when we started building the business, that there were some reasons that this started, these things were happening in the marketplace. So the very influences, the very new platforms, the gig platforms that were emerging, and it wasn't just third-party delivery, it was also just the ride-sharing platforms. But what they all had in common is that they relied on part-time labor, and what they were actually doing was drawing human capital out of the part-time labor markets, and that is why you as an operator started seeing turnover rates escalate. So the irony was they're bringing you some new business, but they're also taking employees out of the employee pool. So it makes it very hard to find and keep people. One of the things that we see in the third-party world is that there's a definite distinction for the operators. If you are an independent brand, one of the good things about third-party and the third-party boom is getting brand exposure on one of these markets. The other is if you have pricing flexibility as an independent brand where the larger national franchise brands don't have pricing flexibility, this is not a bad opportunity for you. The other is that you don't have to have any marketing overhead. You're connecting with these new customers without having to have a marketing budget. But the contrast is very stark for those franchise brands. Number one, they're sustaining brand damage. They have very little control over that user experience. And if you've ever not just been a user of one of the third-party platforms, try an experiment of being a driver and seeing how your local store in a local zip code is actually being served by an adjacent franchise miles away because of how the algorithms that run some of those delivery platforms work. But brand damage is a certainty in that. The other is profit loss. You're losing money on every one of those tickets, but from our viewpoint, one of the most important things is customer detachment, because now that customer is being siphoned away from you. They're now under the ownership of one of the third-party brands. So when we look at the restaurant industry right now, we always say that there's two things that are killing operators. Number one, you can't find or keep employees, and you're losing money in every third-party ticket. And now this is all getting heightened, especially in the midst of this pandemic. The economic impact has been profound, but more importantly, the impact on labor is even more profound. So we're in completely unprecedented times, and unprecedented times take real leadership and unprecedented actions. One of the things that we're talking to a lot of operators about now is really rethinking the way they connect with customers, but also rethinking the way they connect with employees. Part of what we're suggesting as part of the workout or part of your survival plan would include to leverage the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP. The idea being that if you got to bring people back to work, let's put them to work delivering. Let's put them to work doing maybe guerrilla marketing, making sure that your customers locally know that you have delivery capabilities. And then also reconnect with customers directly with your own applications. This is it's an inexpensive opportunity to create and build community around your brand. And again, there's one of the other things that you're going to see become more of a talking point through coming out of this is the ick factor. Now it's not just about the economics or the brand damage. It's also going to John's point, what people want and what you should want is your own uniformed staff member who's been trained in safe food handling and certified for it, connecting with your customers and completing that customer experience. And again, the whole idea in our ecosystem is that we're trying to share resources and try to leverage local staffs and a local on-demand workforce, and using a sharing function to help making sure, at least on the human capital side initially, you have access to a live local on-demand workforce. And that kind of the backstop for a lot of this self-delivery mechanism. You got to have access to the team. One of the things just to think about, a lot of people don't think about the unit economics of a third party and the losses that they mount up. Assuming your location does $1 million a year in combined drive-through and dining in, but you do see a 20%, let's say, bump in your sales because of third-party platforms that you've deployed. In a $20 average ticket, that's about 833 tickets a month. At the 30% that you're giving up, or $6 per ticket, for that one location, it's about $5,000 a month in loss per location by driving things through or taking business through the third-party path. So again, if you can rethink human capital, it can lead to this a new way to leverage your own team members, and that's part of what ShiftPixy's done in this whole idea of native delivery, leveraging your current staff, and we do that through a very elegant technology, but also through there's a mechanism that your peers in the pizza business have had access to for a long time, and it's higher non-owned auto coverage to protect the shop in the event that there's an auto accident in that delivery loop. And we've metered that out on a per ticket basis. So it's a very elegant approach and a very cost-effective and way to get set up to be delivering on your own. And the consumers really want this too. There's a growing demand by consumers where they want to connect with you directly. If you have a brand and you're an operator under one of those brands, these consumers want to connect with you directly. So the market sentiment is moving in your direction. But the opportunity here now is to take this wave, there's a very well-financed wave, the third party, where they've dumped billions of dollars into building these markets and building these new consumer preferences. Now is the time for you to engage with your customers digitally and establish your own digital dominance. And this is every bit as important as your real estate dominance. The old mantra, location, 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 it couldn't be more true in the digital world. And now you have the opportunities to become very good, very skillful digital marketers at a fraction of the cost of doing traditional media. The whole thing that we talk to operators about, we tell them, don't get tied up with your legacy technology. The pink dots there represent your point of sale systems, the things that you're using to run your in-house dining experience. Those are legacy issues. But you need to be thinking about, as these orange dots indicate, your destiny technology. And that destiny technology includes being fully mobilized, but also not just having online ordering, but also being able to do digital marketing to your customers, to also have this driver management layer that we have to our technology stack to allow you to make that and keep that connection and reconnect with those customers. And by the way, we've made this very inexpensive. There's zero cost to set up with ShiftPixy, and we've made it so that we can get you turned on and up and running in a matter of 48 hours. So and now it couldn't be a better time to get, take the steps necessary to reconnect with your customers. And again, think about this as being your digital prime real estate. You have the opportunity now to build affinity around your brand, to build a better connection, and to complete that and make a very elegant customer experience, and not requiring a lot of capital to do it. The other, and as I get ready to hand off to David, he'll talk to you about the opportunity through this process to also build a high-impact loyalty program. And ShiftPixy is really the first to take our technology stack all the way from creating a digital menu, all the way to bringing a customer through the experience, the delivery experience, but also dropping the customer into a loyalty program. Think Starbucks in terms of a full technical engagement. And our driver management layer is very robust. It has a very elegant customer experience, and I'll show you that in a little bit. And we're also very nicely integrated into all your legacy technology systems. But more importantly, you're going to get actionable real-time insights, and this goes back to not surrendering your customer data. If you can understand your customer's experience in real time, you can act on it in real time. You can take course corrections, but you learn a lot more about your customers' habits and behaviors by owning that digital your digital landscape. And you can see instant measures of success. As John mentioned, they had to do some debugging as they started out doing self-delivery, and that's part of that process, part of that journey, finding out what works, what things you can do to stimulate customer action. And again, the whole idea is elevated customer engagement, creating a much more elegant connection with your customer, one that provides high value to them too. And with that, David, I'll hand off to you.
Thank you very much, Scott. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending upon where you're located. Sharky's is a 28 restaurants located in Nevada, Arkansas, and in Southern California. We were born in 1992 in Sherman Oaks, California, across from Valley College. For those who've been out here, you probably have seen us around. We're a premium fast casual restaurant. We serve Mexican-inspired meals made from organic, local, and sustainable ingredients. The biggest thing about our brand is that we have always been a convenient brand for our users. We have small restaurants. Average restaurant size is about 2,100 square feet, and 50% of our business has generally come from dine-in, and the rest has been to go and phone with a little bit of delivery and online ordering. Before COVID-19, Olo online ordering represented about 8.8% of our business, and delivery sales were under 4%. And we felt we had a handle on the marketplace, and then working with ShiftPixy to understand native delivery, to understand the technical aspects, and work with Olo through their dispatch function, really brought to us an opportunity to build on the convenience aspect of our brand. And as what I would call a legacy brand, and understanding how to be convenient to your guests, we focused very heavily on how to convert our guests from existing modes of third-party delivery to native delivery. And in a test in our Orange County restaurants with the initial software that ShiftPixy built, we felt that if we could build the volume and we could move the guests from their marketplace apps into the Sharky's app, we had an opportunity to move the needle forward. As COVID-19 emerged, the world began to change for us. The fact that we had already platforms in online ordering, platforms for delivery, takeout, and phone ahead, adding the addition of curbside as a function through Olo, enabled us to pivot quickly, but native delivery became, at that moment, an unintended victim, because as we began to reduce the labor model within our four walls in order to sustain our business, I wish, like John, I had drive-thrus, but we don't. So we are forced to deal with 50% of our restaurants being closed. But since COVID, 32% of our sales have come from online orders, 65% of sales are to-go, phone ahead, and delivery, and 18.4% has come from delivery directly. Some of this is delivery we are doing through our restaurants where we have already had delivery in place. But moving native delivery has been a bit of a challenge for us because of the labor model. We are employing the team members that we have, and in California specifically, at a gross rate of about $20 an hour, makes it a little bit challenging, and you're making really important decisions about which team members are in the building doing the work to take care of your sales. And as a brand, we have seen sales drops that started at negative 75% in the first days of the lockdown to now where we're approximately down 25%. And as a brand, we keep moving the needle forward to understand what are the things that will make us more successful in the future. What we believe, and I couldn't have said it better, and that's why I included this quotation, Tobias Lutke, the founder of Shopify, put it very precisely when he said 2030 has been pulled to 2020. Technology, and Scott's slide showing the old line technology of POS and now the digital forefront of our restaurants, and what does that mean to tell your story through all of the opportunities that are available to you. All of your guests want the technology at their fingertips. They want to be able to have the convenience that digital presents. So owning that opportunity is critical. And obviously COVID has impacted human resources through furloughs and layoffs and other HR-related issues. And we have found, being a ShiftPixy client, tremendous support on our side for understanding each aspect of everything within the state of California, within Nevada, within Arkansas, that is required to keep our team members well informed, to understand the consequences of the activities that take place, and then any legal regulations that are coming about because of this. Government assistance and loan programs, Scott talked about the PPP. We are most definitely trying to understand how to roll back in. Our restaurants are not open yet, and we are understanding the requirements necessary and learning how we can do that. PPP allows us to move native delivery into the restaurants where it makes sense, assuming we can get conversion out of the marketplace. Marketplace has a strong foothold in Southern California, and we want to be out of those marketplaces and into our own native delivery because of the aspects that Scott touched on. From an operations standpoint, we're learning how to live with less. We have used real plates and real silverware and delivered food to the tables, and we have a very upscale environment inside the restaurants, and we try very hard to provide an experience that matches the quality of the food. We have been challenged. Our first phase of opening dining rooms will happen this week. As we begin to do that, we're taking a bit of a step back from some of the operational pieces that existed before, and because so much of our business is to go, we are looking to make it a little bit easier on our kitchen teams and serve our food on disposable ware, also to be able to pick that food up, clean the tables, and dispose of it as opposed to washing dishes and having any possible cross-contamination issues within the restaurant. The most important thing is our operating model, understanding how we continue to grow the sales in each of these areas. We believe that our brand is poised to be able to grow even further because of our legacy of convenience. We felt that was vital. We also have a loyalty program that we have been part of for 13 years now. We have approximately 130,000 opted-in members within our 28 restaurants. The good news is that in the last 4 weeks, we've added an additional 20,000 members, active members. So we've gone from 130,000 to 150,000, all because of the use of our app and all because everyone is looking for a low-touch way to stay within our brand. And where that has come from is the most active users talking about our brand socially, using the social media platforms to discuss how easy it is to order from Sharky's when there's an opportunity, and that's been great. And for delivery, we know that in order to have delivery, we are sharing our brand. And John said it very clearly. You want to have your brand delivered in a way that extends the experience of the four walls of your restaurant. So for us, because so much of our business is done inside the four walls, we need our packaging, we need our experience to be exactly the experience that they're having in the restaurant, minus the music and minus the smiling team members, but still have the quality food and have everything the brand represents be delivered to their door, contactless or with a handshake, whatever works in the future. We believe that brand trust determines success. If guests truly believe that what's happening in front of them is a great experience, they are going to use you and talk about you, and you're going to build your brand. And that is the best marketing you can get, and finding ways to be able to bring more folks to you, to convert them through incentives from the marketplace into delivery inside the brand is the best way to achieve that. We've done that with bag stuffers. We've used incentives through loyalty. We have also found ways to communicate directly with guests who are using third-party delivery. And we've converted a restaurant from what was free delivery locally on a bicycle or walking to do deliveries because it's an urban marketplace. We have found a way to do all those deliveries digitally now, involving our own folks, but making it more native and using a digital presence for them placing their orders, and making sure that we're able to charge and successfully migrate from free to a charged model. And it's taken us about a year, but it's worked very, very well. And with that, back to Alan.
Thank you, David. Scott, John, appreciate that information, but you're not off the hook yet because I got a few more questions I want to ask you about. I will remind the audience that we welcome your questions. We've got some coming in, but we can always use more. Just type that question into the question window on the upper left-hand side of your screen and hit the submit button while we're getting some more of those questions. And let me ask a question. So, John, why don't you walk us through the most complicated part of setting up self-op and running, and then tell us a little bit about any tips or tricks you know now that you would use next time if you had to do it over again.
Well, looking back, it wasn't really super complicated. We had that initial issue of getting ShiftPixy to work through our OLO configuration as it was originally set up. But it wasn't really a big deal to resolve in the end. OLO moved a little slower than we wanted, but we did get through it. Then the next big hurdle was finding employees on our current team willing and qualified to be drivers, and then to get them actually qualified through the ShiftPixy system. They had to onboard themselves through the ShiftPixy app as drivers, and then provide ShiftPixy during the onboarding process with their insurance, vehicle registration, driver's license information. Then they had to pass a background check. And for my team, it was a little bit like herding cats to get all the drivers to provide everything they needed on time and at the same time. But it wasn't a major issue. We did get through it. It took a little longer than I had wanted. I guess I would recommend for people going forward, sitting down with all of your drivers ahead of time, setting out the clear expectation of what must be done to get certified to be a driver, then have them totally prepared before they begin the onboarding process.
Sounds like some great advice. Thank you. So, Scott, talking about drivers, what is ShiftPixy's research and development around delivery support shown are the most important aspects of driver routing and why? So, I mean, it's one thing to say I'm going to have some delivery drivers. Another thing to say I need to get these people back and forth in an efficient manner and safest manner. And so how do we do that? So what have you found about driver routing? What's important that you can share with the operators?
Yeah, one of the innovations that we discovered, or important innovation that we discovered, Alan, was that the idea of we can use any operator that has density, whether it's John's stores clustered in New Mexico, David's stores clustered in Southern California. Part of the need, and we've actually had this conversation with one of our Pizza Hut clients, is this idea of vectoring drivers from order to order. So the idea would be that if somebody left store A with a delivery, they went out into the field. If the next order that comes up for delivery, maybe that driver is better to be vectored to store B rather than back to store A because the next order in queue was coming out of store B. So we had the ability to see people in time and space and apply that vectoring process to those orders. And that's really the way to think about it from an efficiency standpoint. And that was one of the things that it was actually a conversation that we had with one of the large Pizza Hut operators, because that was one of their frustrations and their ideas that if they could do that, they felt like if they could use vectoring, that they could reduce their driver population by 20%. So that was part of our development path, was to be able to provide that vectoring for greater efficiency.
I'm going to say, it sounds like a good efficiency. If people aren't passing other drivers on the way back to a route or back to their main store, then they could have. Well,
and that's really part of the problem with the third-party platforms. My co-founder has spent some days this month I won't say which platform, but as a driver on one of the platforms. And what it did was it took him for a pickup at a McDonald's location that was about 15 miles maybe away from the customer, where the customer had another McDonald's location just down the street. And that meant that the efficiency was built around the driver and not around the customer. So the convenience was not the customers; it was for the driver. and that's not really efficient for the brands. And the local store there was a participant on the similar platform, but they never got the order. It was a very inefficient method.
Thank you, David. You mentioned that you're not doing native using the ShiftPixy product, but you did some testing. So what could you share with us about some of the learnings from that testing self-op that may be of value to some other operators thinking about going that route?
Thanks, Alan. We learned a lot about low volume restaurants and the number of orders that were coming in through dispatch. And these were folks who were ordering on our app, and they were choosing delivery. The amount of orders vary greatly depending upon the restaurant. Pre-COVID-19, we saw 5 to 10 orders during peak lunch, and maybe we saw 3 to 5 orders during peak dinner. And this is a restaurant averaging a little over $1.2 million. And it skews about 65% lunch. Typically, our restaurants are 50-50 lunch and dinner, but this restaurant's in an urban or close to urban area. And the model that we have when we operate the restaurant is very tight. There are no additional team members available. And when we penciled out the facts at that moment, it did not support having a team member who was out of the restaurant and on the road when the bulk of our business was being done inside the restaurant or to go, but all of it being handled by team members who were inside the 4 walls. So we've now looked at the model. So COVID-19 changes that model. It has moved everyone to a slightly lower sales level, at least in this particular restaurant, but it shifted all of the business to digital. We're getting now 60% of our orders in that one restaurant are coming through Olo, where before it used to be 10% of our orders. So that shift alone makes it viable for the native delivery opportunity. Now that 20% or so of the orders leaving the building are going to be delivered by third party, our opportunity is to market the conversion of folks from the marketplace into the app. Once we're able to convert more folks with incentives into the app, we get to own that experience. We believe, and Scott's team as well, that the opportunity to own the experience is a win and will move people away from the marketplace. And as the marketplaces continue to find ways to survive, because they're not viable financially, they are not making money, and they're struggling with the opportunity to be able to stay afloat. That's why you're seeing consolidation in the marketplace, why different people are buying different companies in order to survive. We believe as long-term operators in the business, we need a platform that delivers the brand.
Thank you. Good to know that. John, you mentioned that you know, if you had to do it over again, or you advise people when sort of recruiting and setting aside possible delivery drivers, you need to sort of get with them ahead of time and go over things and make sure they understand the commitments and what's required. But were there any other sort of cultural changes required in your operations to do self-delivery? I mean, was there anything managerial-wise, or if not culturally, operationally? What needed to happen, if anything, to make self-op delivery work for your operation?
I'd say initially it was just me. After 35 years of running the business the way I'd always got used to, delivery was something new for me. And after all these years of scheduling our teams and managing our schedules for the old way of doing business, it's a little hard to get my mind around having a driver, having them clock in differently, and managing their costs. Because we didn't just start out with a lot of deliveries. Of course, we had to market it, we had to build it. So what were we going to do with these people, and how were we going to control our labor? I just had to work with the managers and get them to think of the drivers initially as just another part of the team. I mean, they're cashiering, they're cooking, they're cleaning, they're helping be productive until an order comes up to deliver. And that was able to help us get our costs controlled until we became with kind of more of a regular delivery schedule.
You, Scott, you obviously have been looking at delivery strongly for a while now and developing a business around it, and you've talked with a lot of operators. So what are some of the most common delivery operation mistakes you're seeing as you interact with operators? I mean, are there some things that are sort of standing out that even otherwise good operators might be doing that's not quite right when it comes to delivery that you can share?
Yeah, that's a great question, Alan. I would say the big thing is the miscalculation that it's a software-driven strategy. Software is an important part of it, but the human capital part that makes it happen, that's where it gets delicate, and that's where it falls apart. It was interesting, a couple of years ago when we first started down this path in developing this driver management technique and technology, we were talking to some of our pizza operator clients. We have a lot of pizza operator clients on our platform for the human capital side. And we were talking about this, and they all laughed at first. They all said, "Oh, that's great. These guys want to get into delivery." Wait till they get in there and they see all the data points you have to manage and the complexities of running delivery. And they all laughed about it. But I can tell you at this moment in time, they're not laughing about it anymore. Because they've seen that it's not just about deploying technology, but this combination that we're introducing to the market to foster native delivery is very easy now to adapt in. The biggest difficulty that we're having, and John talked to this, is people are used to doing business a certain way. If you think about it, especially in the franchised side of the business, what people are buying is a business in a box. It's a turnkey box, and you should be able to turn it on, and it always does this. And so a lot of operators in the franchised world are looking at it and think, I don't really want to tinker with the box, because they have to rethink human capital. They have to rethink their connection with customers. So that's one of the biggest difficulties is the rethinking of the way you're doing business, but also thinking that it's only a technology solution. It is not just a technology. The human capital piece is part of the strategy.
Thank you for that insight. John, I'm going to start with you, but we're going to move to David. Did you make any menu moves to move into delivery? I mean, has your delivery operation resulted in you changing any of your menu options or creating bundles or meal kits or anything like that?
We actually haven't changed our menu at all. One thing is we do not allow the ordering of one of our big Fiesta packs, which is a large box of tacos and burritos, because it's too complicated to order online. It's just not something that we're able to do at this moment. But the rest of our entire menu is available online, order for delivery. We've also included initially a free churro with every order, just to help us build that business.
David, how about you? Have you folks done anything, modified your menu at all to appeal to folks for delivery and or curbside or pickup?
Sure. So we found the need to give folks a way to give folks an opportunity to try menu items they may not have tried before, or to have a little fun when they were home. So we built, and we already had some family meals. We moved the family meals to our homepage of our website. We pushed out through Instagram. We did a good amount of marketing. We had a little bit of traction. We added meal kits where we had a family dinner where folks could build their own meals. We added a build your own nacho kit, and we've had tremendous success with that. And we have also done a build your own enchilada kit, and then we did a fajita taco fiesta for 4. And we've sold, since the inception in the 28 restaurants, so it's been probably 4 weeks for the fajita taco fiesta, well over 1,000. We have sold over 2,000 nacho kits, and we've also taken advantage of the opportunity to sell alcohol. So we sell handcrafted sangrias in the restaurants, and we decided once it was available to us that we could do curbside pickup and delivery where it was applicable on sangria, and we've sold about 5,000 sangrias since we started. So it's been tremendously successful. I think here the weather turning, going from an ugly cold March to a wonderful April, people were ready to do things a little bit differently even though they were locked down. So we've made those adaptations, and the rest of our menu is available. There are only one or two items, and similar to John, that we don't sell. We don't do any of our catering menu out the door other than when we deliver it or the guest picks it up, because it's a little bit more complicated, and we never completed our integration on catering. It's a 2021 project through OLO.
Thanks. Hey, just a quick question. Do those kits and those special bundles you created, are they good from a business standpoint, or are they more of a just keep the sales coming in, cover G&A sort of?
They're great for business. If it was the only business I was in, it would be different. So what we have a filter, which is a triangle that says everything should be equal: guest, team, and profit. And we built it with that in mind. It's a good value for the guest. It delivers a really good gross margin, and for the team, we've made it operationally as simple as we can.
I have more questions for these guys, but so do you in the audience. So we're going to move into the audience Q&A, and I might dart back in and around to get some of my inquiries satisfied. But let's start with the audience questions. And here's one that asks, please elaborate on the insurance aspects for drivers. Does ShiftPixy provide the staff, or are they hired by ShiftPixy? So, Scott, can you tell us a little bit about insurance?
Sure. Yeah. Structurally, what happens in our engagement with John and David is technically what's happening is they're letting the employee go, and they're being hired by ShiftPixy. That creates a W-2 relationship with us and the employee, but they're still under John and David's control. But that change allows us to insure them under a hired and non-on auto program. But the way we build the premium is on a per ticket charge. So right now we're waiving the ticket charge during the COVID crisis here. But on the other side of this, a customer would be billed a $5 convenience fee, similar to what they're charged on the platforms and marketplaces. And in that ticket charge is the hired and non-owned auto coverage. So now David as an operator, John as an operator, when somebody takes that order out from the store to the customer and back, if there's an auto accident in that loop, the shop is not liable. So that was our background is in commercial insurance coverages, because we do this. We have the same type of application for workers' compensation coverage, being metered out one shift at a time. So it's that micro metering approach through the technology that bears that insurance piece. And so John or David don't have to have that coverage in place, and it's all pay as you go. Nobody's having to write a big check up front to have the coverage, and nobody's having to go through an underwriting process to talk about how many deliveries did you do last year, or how many are going to do this year. So all those complexities for that insurance engagement are completely removed.
Thank you. Here's a question for the operators, and maybe Scott has some experience and can share some thoughts, but it says, how do you determine delivery fee? Now, Scott, you just mentioned that when things clear, you might have some fees. But John and David, delivery fees. Do you have fees now associated with your delivery, and how do you determine that if it's in your control?
Well, this is John. Right now, we don't. We're just trying to get every sale, every dollar we can, encourage the guests to use our services and to buy our food and to grow our business and survive through these times.
So
David, any pricing thoughts?
Sure. So we have one restaurant which does delivery if you order a burrito, we'll deliver it. Most of our other restaurants deliver catering orders, and the delivery fees start at $10. For within 3 miles, anything beyond 3 miles, we'll charge $20. Just because of this is Los Angeles, we have traffic barriers that others might not, and the time a team member spends to take an order could last up to an hour. And we, for single menu items that are delivered locally, we're charging between $1 and $2, and this is not under the ShiftPixy native delivery. So native delivery, the delivery fee was always $5.
What you're going to see too, Alan, is the market definitely will bear the delivery fee. It's the third-party platforms have already proven that. But the difference here is, what we're trying to do is restore that delivery profit back to the operators. So instead of David or John having to give up 30% because it's going off on some platform, when we can move it over to native delivery, they keep that. And then on the customer experience side, we know that the market will bear that convenience fee or that small delivery fee. The market has moved there. Consumer preferences have changed, and it's now settled territory. I don't think that even the free delivery through the pandemic that was offered by the third-party platforms, I don't believe that moved the needle. I think what moved the needle was customer convenience in a time where they can't get out. That's what moved the needle. They were not motivated by a $5 delivery charge either way.
And Alan, this is David.
Yes.
Let me say one thing. The one part of this is that for those of us here in California, I don't know about elsewhere, we are charging premiums for delivery. So we are charging 20% above our in-restaurant menu price for any orders we send out through the marketplace. And for those that come in through our app and they order through dispatch, the price is the same as dine-in. And it is a lower cost overall. And that is the other aspect of this, that the guest will win when the delivery fee is, as Scott just said, it's expected. They're willing to pay for the convenience, but the price of the actual meal itself will be similar to what the guest is paying in the restaurant.
So that's what some people refer to as premium pricing, and that's a
Correct.
markup on anything that's delivered. In your case, it's for anything delivered by third-party operators.
That's correct.
And see, in this case too, this also illustrates that earlier point that where David, with an independent brand, he has flexibility to do that. Where in John's case, under the Del Taco brand, there's national pricing, guidelines and controls that would prohibit him from changing his menu prices. So there'd be a process for him to do that. So, and that's really been part of the frustration for all the brands, the major franchisees under the major brands, that they don't have any pricing control.
That's a good point. This is going to be a lightning round, so I'm just going to ask this out loud, and we'll start with David, and then we'll move to John and Scott too. But anyway, 30 seconds or less, actually, just a yes or no answer. Do you feel that after all the states are open for business, that the delivery part will fall back to the same levels as prior to COVID-19? John, what do you think about delivery? Up or down, or back to the same?
I believe it's going to be the same or go up. I think we've got people hooked with the convenience. It was growing before COVID, and it's going to keep growing after COVID.
David?
Accelerating. It will continue to grow.
Scott, you're betting a business on it. I have a feeling you think it's going to get bigger.
That's right. We bet the farm on it. Yes, we did. But I'll tell you what we also bet on was the amount of money that seeded that market. All the major platforms and their investors in particular dumped billions into that market, and they changed customer behavior. And it's also, if you look at it, that trend also moved at the same pace of smartphone adoption. You can see those are parallel lines in terms of growth. So again, the consumer habits changed, and to both John and David's point, it is expected to accelerate.
Well, this is a really easy to answer question from the audience, so we're going to take it because we can get one out of the way and get to more other questions. So it says, did I understand correctly that ShiftPixy is able to integrate with Olo?
Yes. Yeah. That was the first integration we pursued. Yes.
Okay, good to know. So now we have a question that asks, how does the ShiftPixy economic model differ from third party? Cost per delivery all in.
It's actually it's cost neutral. It's neutral to the customer, right? The economics are neutral to the customer, but the economic impact is to the plus side for the operator because they're not paying commissions on that. They're keeping that.
Thank you. Let's see here. Exception of native delivery model. These questions. All right, so let's read. We're going to read this one. Bear with me, folks. We'll figure it out. At the inception of a native delivery model with one in-house driver, how would you stagger the order taking, fulfilling, so as to not to create a long backlog of deliveries? All right, this is a theoretical maybe, but if you're doing delivery, you just have one driver, and you know he can't be everywhere at once, and you might have 7 lunch orders. How do you sort of plan for that, or how do you stagger driving? Anyone have an answer for that?
I can. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was going to say, you know, that's part of that rethinking of human capital and leveraging human capital. You might have somebody that is designated as a driver, but maybe they have a backup as well at the store, and they're working the counter at the moment. So when there's an influx, you can engage them as well, just as a backup. That's one of the solutions. The other is to push. You could on especially through the Olo platform, you could push some of those orders back to one of the third-party platforms if the traffic gets congested.
And the other, this is David. The other option is the make times can be altered within Olo. So you know that John's point about having multiple team members trained and certified to take those deliveries. So in case you need to peel someone off from another task that may not be as important as a revenue generating task, you can send that additional person out to make the delivery. However, if you need to adapt a make time that gives you a little bit greater lead time in order to stagger, you are able to do that through Olo's dispatch platform.
Good to know. All right, so here's a question that asks, staying in touch with customers, how are you keeping it relational with delivery, whether delivery or curbside? So in this off-premise channeling development, how do you keep it relational and keeping in touch with customers? John, do you have a thought on that to start?
Well, certainly, you know, using ShiftPixy and owning our own delivery, I mean, it makes a huge difference. That's the scary part about using the other online services. So, you know, our people are trained to engage with the guest in a safe way. And of course, you know, our appearance and our service standards, that gives us that ability to really build that relationship.
Good to know. David, how about you? When you're dealing with a lot of different parties, because you told me that you use some regional guys as well. So how do you sort of keep it relational with your customers when you're using all these different hands to get food to them?
So the advantage at the moment is bringing so many of our orders in through Olo, we have the ability to contact every one of the opted-in folks who use Olo as a platform. And that enables us to reach out, to send them surveys, as well as incent them to come back and use the platform again. So that is my recommendation. Is anybody that would use native delivery, there is an opportunity. As John said, you want to brand the experience, but also you have all of their contact info. So you have the ability to reach out, especially if you can integrate it into your loyalty or marketing program. It is an opportunity to be able to talk to those folks.
The other thing that we've done in the technology, this is Scott, is if you watch the user experience, and we're happy to demonstrate that for anybody that wants to reach out to us, they can do so on our website and sign up for a webinar, and we'll show you the customer experience. Because at the end of the order, the customer doesn't have to download an app. They're engaged on their mobile device, and they're able to rate the driver, but they're also able to see the driver in progression to their destination. But when that transaction is complete, we land them on a landing page, and that landing page could be an offer, could be a survey, but it's more importantly, it's that connection. We can drop them into a loyalty program. So that's really that complete end-to-end customer capture and engagement cycle.
Thank you. Here's the question that asks, is ShiftPixy seeing an increased amount of partnership interest among small businesses looking to transition into digital space?
I would say one of the other areas, again, our whole platform is focused on part-time labor, so it's industries that are driven by part-time labor. In the U.S., it's a population of 28 million people that work part-time, but half of those people work in the restaurant and hospitality trades. So we're heavily focused on that. But one of the other subsets that we were designed for is for the temporary staffing industry. And so that's another one of those, and that we're getting a lot of traction and a lot of inquiry and interest from the staffing industry for the way we're built and the way we deploy the technology.
Very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you in the audience for your questions. They always add to the value of any educational program. It's good to know and hear what you're thinking about. That said, we're out of time, so let me thank our panelists, Scott Absher of ShiftPixy, David Goldstein of Sharky's Wood-Fired Mexican Grill, and John Bissell of Diamondback DTNM. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, ShiftPixy, whose support made this program possible. When information about the replay for this event arrives in your email inbox, please share it with your professional acquaintances with similar interests. We invite you to join us for future NRN and Informa Restaurant and Food Group webinars. For now, though, please know that we wish you good health and a very good day.